podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
All right, this week I'm with Tom, and we're doing what you do as a podcaster when you haven't got anything better to talk about. Mailbag episode. How's it going, Tom?
Yeah, really good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. The sunshine has broken out here in Seattle. It has been the worst year, like, on record for rain. I mean, we're not supposed to say good or bad, it's just rain. La Nina has meant we've got all of California's water. It's just been raining solidly for months on end. So,
Seattle is kind of America's answer to Manchester in many ways, isn't it?
It is. It's about the same level of rainfall, I believe, per year. I did look this up. So
wow.
It's just the number of days. And it's got a good beer scene as well. So there you go. There's many things in common. Good music scene historically as well as now. So yeah. Crap football team though here.
Yeah, once they were pretty good for a period.
Yeah, it's interesting. They won the North American version of the Champions League this year, beating the Mexican team first
which
time
is
it's
massive.
ever happened.
Yeah.
Which is massive for US football. They're not doing very well in MLS. I think there's been a bit of a trade-off there. Not that I'm an expert. Anyway, so mailbag episode, we asked, and many people have given us some questions. You can imagine that a lot of it is about transfers. It seems to be the topic of the day, so we'll get to some of that. But the best story of the past week was Richard Arnold's off-the-cuff visit to his local pub to meet some of the 1958 committee group, whatever they call themselves, which was thoroughly entertaining, I thought, on account of that conversation being filmed and leaked against Arnold's wishes. So anyway, we got a few questions on that. A friend of the show, Greg Sood, says, thoughts on Richard Arnold following the footage from today? James at James the First 90 says, thoughts on the Arnold videos? And perhaps the best one from Chris, friend of the show's on the pod last week. Do you wish you'd hired the Richard Arnold who's on the TV reviewer from GMTV instead of the one you've actually got? Thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, I thought he was great. When I was about 10 or 11 or 12, my parents incessantly, and they still do, incessantly watch morning news TV, which I don't think is actually good for your mental health, but to have that poured into you on a day-to-day basis. But he was always a shining light. So I don't know if this Richard Arnold is the same shining light for Man United. And to be honest, he is quite annoying, that Richard Arnold on GMTV. Well,
this one's quite annoying too, I think, in different ways.
So I feel like he's just so polished. And I know he swore, oh yeah, he said an F word every now and again. He's one of us or whatever. But like, it's not like corporate strategists and people in corporate companies don't swear. If you ever watch Succession, there's a lot of swearing. I'm not sure it's a documentary, but still, I think, he just kind of said it to kind of fit in. I feel like a lot of what he was saying was very PR speaky. He knows his target audience there. He knows not to slag off the Glazers because he knows that it's very likely that someone is going to leak this, despite him saying not to. But he is kind of telling people what they want to hear there, and I'm sure for a lot of the people there, it was a little bit comforting to have a guy sit face to face with you and talk like this. But it still felt to me so polished, and it's going to be like the guy's not going to say anything out of turn either way. He's not going to slag off the Glazers. He's not going to. He knows how to play it, and he's to get into those kind of positions, you have to be quite a politician. And
I think so.
It's hard to learn too much from that conversation, I feel.
Yeah, we didn't learn too much. I mean, I am of the look. The Glazers, and we'll get to this with some of the questions later. The Glazers aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and Arnold was kind of keen to point that out. And it would take given what Chelsea just cost. You can go back and see my conversation with Andy Green a couple of weeks ago. But given what Chelsea just cost, it would take a massive offer. even if United's share price is below IPO and it looks like the club's worth a couple of $1 billion, that is, less than that, it would take multiples of that to shift the Glazers at this moment, I think. So we're stuck with them. And if we're stuck with them, it's better the fans have a relationship with the club than don't. So I'm not sure that leaking it was really productive, honestly. That's not the biggest thing. I mean, what did he say? That was kind of, he said, the Glazers have invested, we haven't invested it well, we've wasted £1 billion. Can't see it on the training pitch. I mean, he was part of that. He was number 2 to Ed Woodward. So he kind of obliquely blamed Woodward, saying, would you like me to be doing the transfers? Didn't that work well? Haven't we seen that before, or something like that?
Yeah.
I was like, again, trying to shift the blame. I mean, I don't like that he doesn't want to take any responsibility there. Yeah, because it's definitely not true. He was part of that whole thing. He said, we all know Pogba's a twat. The fans knew he was a twat and the club knew he was a twat, which was a little colourful, I think, but easy to blame someone who's going out the exit door again, or has joined Juventus. So yes, I don't know. We learned a lot other than, I guess we already had the sense that Arnold is keen to delegate more to other people, and he has, and he said several times in this conversation, like, John, what do you want? Go ahead and do it, sort of thing, says John Murtagh. So John Murtagh has power within the boundaries of what the Glazers allowed him to have, I'm sure. Then that's progress. It might not be perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it's progress. And United, I think, are being quite deliberate about how they approach the next phase of things.
I find it interesting when he talks about, like, Pogba in the way he does, because there were rumours that Pogba was actually quite a popular figure in the dressing room.
Yeah,
and he's going to have he's going to have a lot of friends in there. And if, like, someone like that at the club is slagging you off in that way towards the fans, it, like, makes you think, okay, one, you're slagging off my mate like that. What do you think about me? And do you have this level of disdain for all the footballers? I know Pogba may seem a little bit different, but it'd make me. I would hate that if one of my bosses was talking about one of my friends like that. I would personally hate that. I also found it interesting. I found it interesting what he said, the Glazers don't care. And I think one of the people there was like, I know they don't care or whatever, but he kind of meant in the case that they don't care about what you think. And it's I find it just kind of interesting that he explicitly said that, because we know that, but I just found it quite interesting that he did explicitly say they don't give a shit about what you think.
Yeah, all the protests, and they are impervious to this.
Exactly, and it goes to the fact that we almost do kind of need to bite our tongue a little bit and just have a relationship with them, because it's going to be almost impossible to get rid of them. And though it's kind of horrible what they do, it's like, I mean, it's like putting up with the Tories in power, or voting for Labour as your next people that you want to go in at. I hate Keir Starmer, but it's the alternative. Like, the alternative is worse, and like, is the alternative of just getting on the Glazers' back going to be worse than putting up with them? It's catch-22. It's shit either way, really. But yeah,
I do think fans tend to see this in a binary way. They tend to see it as Glazers in or Glazers out, and it's going to take a big shift to get them out. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And so, given that, it's okay to have a pressure campaign, muster campaigning on the share scheme side of things. They haven't got what they want yet, but they're putting the pressure on the fans, I think, to the level of legality, should put pressure on the club. It made some change. I mean, Joel Glazer has spoken to fans through the Fans Forum for the first time in 15 years. Now, that might not be very concrete, might not be much. It might be kind of empty talk, but it's a step further than we ever had before. The club has promised changes. They've promised investment in the stadium and in Carrington and in the playing squad. They made a change in how they're structured. I mean, alongside like 5 or 6 players and about the same number of coaches, a whole bunch of executives are gone, right? They are making changes, and a lot of this has been prompted not only by the failure on the pitch, but fans' pressure. So I still think that's good, but within that, how do you have a constructive relationship and get what fans want? So I think it has moved there, and it's moved there because of pressure from fans, not just because the Glazers are willing to do it. And so, yeah. Anyway, should we move on?
Yeah, so there's Matt here, lists MD, who asks, following the Arnold talk, how much financial pain is needed for the Glazers to sell up. I think kind of just gone over a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think it's impossible, basically. There's just there's no level, and even out of the Champions League, United's cash flow will be enough for them to be sustainable and take their dividend. It's a happy semi-annual dividend day today as we record. Tom, are you celebrating the Glazers taking their 11
I always
million?
celebrate, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Get the family
stuff,
round and we whoop and we walla.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
How many shares do you own?
Very few.
Yeah, no, there's no level of financial pain. United aren't about to get relegated, so I just don't see anything happening there. And the Glazers aren't about to get sanctioned or anything like that. So, yeah, not going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, and the next question's kind of goes from the similar vein, really. It's from Morten Mabrenna, who says, how many relegations would we need to totally restart the club and start over again? So how many would that...
Hypothetically, yeah, they might get out, I suppose, if United got relegated to the Championship. I mean, they'd be on a significantly... they'd lose £160 million a year of TV revenue, basically, and all their sponsors. I just don't see a scenario in which that happens.
I mean, if we'd have kept Ranić for another year...
Maybe. Yeah, he was doing a good job, wasn't he?
That form was relegation worthy. Jeez. And then Hans Inga Lango, maybe have messed that pronunciation up. I'm really sorry if I have. Given the stories about cash issues and the ongoing performance issues, what's the realistic worst case scenario for the short to medium term?
Well, I can definitely make a bear case on this one. What I think realistic he's put in there, worst case scenario, is that United don't qualify for the Champions League this year. Again, the season about to come, that is. They take quite a big hit on their Adidas contract. We're entering the last 2 years of that anyway. And so out of the Champions League, have to renegotiate TeamViewer in a couple of years, renegotiate Adidas, and a number of other commercial agreements fall by the wayside. We are reduced to sort of high 400s in revenue and fall behind City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Bayern, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, probably not Tottenham, but maybe actually they're growing in revenue with the new stadium, and then basically become an Arsenal. And spend many years out of the Champions League and don't have the revenue to kind of back up the ambition. So that's the realistic worst case scenario, and it's a pretty bad scenario, spending years in the Europa League, I think, on significantly reduced revenues. I still think the club's sustainable. They just adjust the transfer budget. They pay dividends out of profits. United make profits most years when they don't spend a lot of money on transfers. So dividends are owned by the shareholders. The Glazers are most of the shareholders, and they will continue to pay themselves dividends.
I wonder as well whether we are becoming more Arsenal-y as well. Like, I think the transfer window, and we'll obviously get on to transfers in a sec, is kind of showing us to be a little bit of a step down already. Like the Frenkie de Jong thing, I know it sounds like he wants to come to us, but his initial reluctance and the fact that City and Liverpool can just go out there and buy who they want and get them immediately is one a sign of Glazers' incompetence, but also a sign that we're not that as tempting as we used to be. Well,
that's right. Look, we always used to say that there was a sort of tax on Manchester United. Everyone knew United were rich, and therefore the price went up. But it doesn't appear to be a tax on Manchester City and Liverpool. Right now, they go out, find the player they want, negotiate, get the player to want to come to them, and leverage that to get a good deal. Now, that actually seems like that's what United are doing with Frenkie de Jong. I don't believe they'd be pushing this if Ten Hag hadn't had a conversation with de Jong in which he's like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. I understand that I'm on the way out of Barcelona. They want to cash in. They need the money despite selling off their TV and commercial rights for the next 400 years. They need that's not providing them with that much short-term cash. So they need it, and they can only cash in on 1 in every 4 euros because of their financial situation, or they can only put that towards a playing squad. So anyway, He knows that he's on the way out. United are trying to squeeze Barcelona for a good deal. I don't think that's bad. So might be behaving in a way that is more befitting of a big club. I mean, look what Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid do. Getting great players on freebies all the time because they're leveraging high wages in the Paris Saint-Germain case and status in Real Madrid's case. So United don't have that status right now. We need to start winning again to have that status in order to benefit from players really wanting to come. And then you don't have to pay the mega fee and the mega wages. Alrighty, so we've got a few questions on kind of stuff around the team and how it's shaping up. Joe Guntona. I don't know how to pronounce half these Twitter names. Joguntona on Twitter says, Frenkie de Jong, Donny van der Beek, Bruno in the same midfield, strikers, fringe players, AWB as an auxiliary centre-back, Lindelof as an emergency DM. Why don't coaches experiment with position changes more often? I mean, it's an interesting theory, or that could be square pegs in round holes. So I'm not sure it always works. It will be interesting this year because there's a couple of interesting things that could happen with Bruno because he doesn't obviously fit into a Ten Hag possession-based controlling midfield. Although Bruno isn't the worst. I mean, he gives the ball away a lot in a kind of positive way. He's not the worst in midfield for lack of control. That's Fred and McTominay spraying the ball all over the place, not to their own men. So I do think there's a couple of scenarios, and bear with me on this one, that could be interesting with Bruno, which is maybe Bruno plays as a false nine if we don't get another striker in. Maybe that might be an interesting way to use him. He's not that far away from that anyway. Yeah. If you look at his positioning and Donny van der Beek comes into midfield, or maybe Bruno plays off one of the wide areas. Given that United are chasing Eriksen, it's not that different. Eriksen would probably play on the left of a front three. So I'm not saying I'm advocating for either of these things. I'm just saying that might be kind of interesting. I don't know. What do you think?
I guess that goes to also his question, why don't coaches experiment with position changes more often? Ranić did experiment with Bruno quite a bit, actually, throwing him out on their left, throwing him in as a false nine. My problem with Bruno playing false nine, it kind of negates most of his qualities. His best facing goal and having to come back and link play and be pretty tidy doing that. I think, like I say, it kind of negates his best qualities. His best unlocking defences, trying things, maybe even sometimes from deep. And with back to goal, I think he does have the quality to play it. I just think that it's a little bit of a waste. I think AWB as an auxiliary centre back, potentially in a 3, but in a 2, I just can't see it ever working. I mean, the lad can tackle, but his positional awareness is just not very good for a defender, and he gets away with that because he can slide tackle like no one's ever seen before, and he's pretty quick. But put him in a back 2, especially, he'd be all over the place. I don't even want to.
It looks like a nightmare. Yeah.
In a back 3 though, I think it could work. Like Kyle Walker really, really benefited from that. He was really good for England in that. It's good for City if they ever play that.
You think AWB is as disciplined as Kyle Walker though? I don't know, but I agree that's a kind of.
And he's not as good on the ball either.
No, he's not, which is a problem.
The midfield's interesting though. That 3. My problem with having Frenkie de Jong, Frenkie de Jong is great, but my fear about him is that just how defensive, the defensive nous in a team in the Premier League, if we're relying on Frenkie de Jong in especially in a midfield like that with DVB and Bruno, we're not going to get too much from those two, and relying solely on Frenkie de Jong to be the defensive shield is just
definitely not.
It's great on the ball, I think, those 3, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Donny van der Beek's like this season. But I would fear defensively.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that can happen. I think they need a proper defensive midfielder alongside De Jong, who does like to his starting position is Stipe. He likes to get the ball off the centre backs.
Yeah.
But he's got a very high dribble completion rate. He likes to carry the ball, and he's obviously got a great passing range. So it needs a proper defensive midfielder in there. And we've been saying that for 10 or 15 years. I don't know, when Michael Carrick retired.
Exactly. And I hope that United, you would hope that United aren't going to just think De Jong is the answer there. He's a defensive midfielder. He plays near the defence. No, thank you.
Yeah. Alex Wormel says, which youngster is most likely to make the step up? I'm really hoping we've got a defender coming through. I don't know that there's actually an easy transition here for any of the under-23s. Or it's now going to be under-21s. The Premier League 2 is now going to become an under-21 thing, which is kind of interesting. It still means that there's a jump up, basically. How do you get those youngsters into the first team? If they're really, really good, it's going to happen. So we see that with Greenwood and Rashford in recent seasons. If not, they're going to have to use the loan system. And they have to be clever, because United don't have a bunch of feeder clubs or clubs in the same group family. And there's a limit of 2 loans, so have to use the loan system really well. And like defenders, Alvaro Fernandez was in a couple of squads at the end of last season. He's a good attacking left back. I don't know if he's ready to put pressure on Luke Shaw. Someone needs to, because it's definitely not Alex Telles. And Ethan Laird, I mean, I've got a lot of hope for him. He had a good start to last season, then went to Bournemouth and barely played. So had a good start as a wing back in a 3-5-2 at Swansea, and then didn't play much as a full back in a 4-2-3-1 at Bournemouth. And so that doesn't really speak much for his hopes of replacing Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, I don't think. No centre-backs are ready, in my honest opinion.
No, and that's exactly what we would love, really. I feel like if we were to kind of open it up to any position, I'm going to be interested to see what Ahmad's like and if they do want to keep him, because I feel like his cleanliness is something that would go down pretty well with Ten Hag, and I think he's super intelligent as well. Like, I know he didn't play that much towards the end with Rangers. He had a couple of games early doors and he did really well, and then he was kind of out the team as Rangers, I guess, progressed towards the Europa League, and he kind of played a lot of league games in the second string team. I think it was tough for him to go into that scenario 6 months in, and I don't think we should kind of say, oh, we didn't light it up at Rangers and that's why he's not going to light it up at United. Look at, I think when Lingard went on loan to Derby, was it the next season, he actually started getting into the first team at United after a reasonably okay championship season. So I don't think, like, just because he didn't light it up, he won't do amazing at United. And I feel like there's a lot to come from him. I think it's like more than anything, it's his intelligence. Like he that's what really saw at Rangers. Like, not just his ability on the ball to beat people, which is really good. He's, like I say, he's really clean in possession, but also just getting into those attacking areas and knowing where to be, which is something that not all our kind of players have. And I think that's what Alanga's so good at as well. Like, I mean, which youngster is likely to step up? Obviously, Elanga was the one to step up this season. Yeah. And Elanga's not that great on the ball. He's decent enough, but he's not like a Mason Greenwood. But his intelligence is so high, which makes him such a great player. And I think Ahmad has that, and he also has the technical ability. He needs to grow a little bit, because he is very slight, and that's going to be one of the things that hold him back in the Premier League. Palestri's also one that I'm going to be interested to see what they do with.
Yeah, he wasn't really in the Alaves team, but he's a regular for Uruguay. So clearly he's got something about him. He's very direct, isn't he? And some of the clips of him setting up goals for Uruguay have been impressive in both his dribbling ability, how direct he is, and his intelligence around the box. I don't know why he didn't play much for Alaves. We'll see. I suspect it's going to be another loan, though, with him. Maybe, if I was Ten Hag, I'd be wanting to look at some of these players. So Those players who haven't been playing international football are back at Carrington on Monday. So probably Ahmad. I don't think he's been playing over the recent international break. He has, so he might get another week or two off. So anyway.
Someone like Garner as well, like what's going to happen with him?
Yeah. Garner.
A lot of people obviously been speaking about how he could be the solution after having a decent enough season with Forest. But I don't particularly see it. I don't think he's physical enough quite yet, but it's going to be some interesting for someone like that. And I also think Hannibal, like, I love his combativeness, and he's also great on the ball. Like, I guess he will probably be loaned out, but I don't know.
Physically, I'd say he needs a loan, but yes, I mean, everyone enjoyed him kicking Jordan Henderson for sure. I mean,
apart from Ranić.
I know. I mean, that's the moment we knew he wasn't a good
exactly,
fit.
Yeah.
But Garner, yeah, interesting to see. I don't know. I have my doubts about him, but he had such a good season with Forest. I'd kind of like to see him go on loan to a Premier League club to see.
Yeah, Forest again.
If he stayed with Forest for a third season, if he signed a new contract, basically, you could see him going out for another season there.
Yeah.
David Balfour says, what innovations do you see in the new 5 subs era? I don't know, are we going to get any innovations? I mean, basically, what I see in 5 subs is that the clubs with the best depth of squad, I don't mean like number of players, but I mean the lowest distance between the best player and the worst player seem to benefit from it. So Manchester City, they're just completely interchangeable. They've got 2 really high quality players for each position. Pep has some of his favourites, but honestly, is there really a big drop off if Mahrez is in the team and not Foden? I mean, no. And whereas United have had that big drop off, yeah, for sure. And I just don't know that we benefited. I mean, the fact that Ollie would use 1 sub when we had 5 to play with or something like that.
Yeah.
Or no subs in some important finals.
I was going to say I go back to the Europa League final, but and Ollie got criticised a lot for that, not making a sub until basically the end of extra time or something. But then you look,
basically.
But I was looking at that team and looking at the bench during that game, and I was like, there's no one I would actually bring on here because there's so little solution. I wonder whether like it's maybe a little bit left field, but I seen like this Zlatan this season just filling in for like 10 or 15 minutes at the age of 40. I wonder like how many players like that might just stick around at the big clubs to just be like almost like a special teams player in the NFL or something. They just wheeled out for like certain scenarios where like 15 minutes to go or 1-0 down, we'll bring on this guy who might be able to, and it's obviously dependent on if a player wants to be like that, but because you've got 5 subs now, like you can almost have like specialized players for certain scenarios. So I wonder if that might be an innovation we see. Maybe not, but
it's interesting. There's a bit of discussion about Sterling perhaps going from City to Chelsea. We don't see those transfers across the big 6 clubs really, but if you look at the wages, and this has been part of United's problem, that fringe players get at the big clubs, it's more than the bottom third of the Premier League or the bottom half of the Premier League can pay to their top players, which means we might well get more bloated squads and fringe players just sticking around to get those 10 or 15 minutes rather than going somewhere else for football because they would earn less.
I feel like that's what Matt has done for the last year and a half, 18 months.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah. He did take a big pay cut to hang around as a mascot last season. Luke Hay says, now the 2 sources of dressing room leaks, quote unquote, have left the club this summer. What other leaks would you like to prioritise fixing? The roof, the defence, the midfield? Yeah, all of it. Are we saying that Pogba and Lingard were the major sources of leaks? It seems to be the common knowledge, but I'm not saying that. I don't want a cease and desist letter from one of their lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main leak to fix this season is the defence, so we don't have to rely on David De Gea winning Player of the Season again. And I guess also that includes the midfield of signing a defensive midfield to help out the defence, which would be absolutely lovely.
Yeah, and the controlling part of midfield, the ability to retain possession, that'd be kind of useful too. And the attacking bit, putting the ball in the onion bag.
And having a goalkeeper who comes off his line.
I mean, I don't know. You can hope and dream, can't you? You just don't always get your dreams.
Yeah, and a right back.
Some things don't. Yeah. So all of it, we've fixed the coach. We've got a more sensible structure in place around him.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't fixed the owners. I don't think the roof has been fixed yet.
No.
So, Ten Hag's photo shoot when he joined had the mouldy, transparent panels still there that were fitted in the mid-90s. So, hey, or whenever that stand went up. Yeah, a bit later than that. All right, shall we get onto some transfer nonsense? Because everyone wants to talk about transfers.
Yep, superb. So Jamie HO with about 6 numbers. I always was told that if people had that many numbers behind their Twitter username that they were a bot, but
no, I think it's when they don't pick their own
okay.
handle. Twitter just assigns an 8-digit number.
Yeah, because if this was a bot, it's quite a sophisticated bot who, because he asks, is ending Rangnick's contract and the delay in making signings A, the new football-led structure allowing Erik Ten Hag to call the shots and take his time to get what he wants, and B, the usual Glazer era random chaos.
Yeah, I think it's A. I know there's a lot of fans. I would say if I was taking the Twitter sphere sentiment, people are a bit panicked about it and they think United can't complete any of these deals and they're only doing one deal at a time. But I think my sense of what I hear from sensible people is that actually United are approaching a number of targets in a number of areas. They may do up to 5 deals. We'll see on that one. They've never done that many before. And they have a structure in place to try and complete it. Murtaugh has a more developed team now. I think they might actually be looking for a chief negotiator, a replacement for Matt Judge as well. But yeah, they're fairly confident they have a structure in place and they're going to go execute on it. That's I could be totally wrong about that, but I think it's more A than B. Maybe it's wishful thinking.
It's hard to not be cynical, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, very. Yeah, almost impossible.
Exactly. Tawanda Chikukwa asks, despite the fans' outrage, isn't it better that United are not splashing cash for show?
Sure, and this was Arnold's point, wasn't it? Would you rather I was doing the deals? Quote, unquote. Yeah, I'd like them to splash some cash. I want to see the money on the pitch, not in the Glazers' pocket, for sure. But if they're doing it in a structured, sensible way, obviously training starts soon. We'd like players to be in sooner rather than later. But they do have to the 2nd of September to complete all these deals. There's a lot of time left. More than 2 months. So we shouldn't really panic. It would be nicer to get it done earlier, but it's a game of brinkmanship with these big deals.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
and you think to the
who's going to blink first, United or Barcelona?
Yeah, and you think to the 2 major signings that City and Liverpool have paid what I would probably consider way over the odds for Darwin Núñez, and Haaland was because of a transfer release clause, so it's not. Yeah. It's not like they've had to go through that brinkmanship. The Núñez one in particular is a huge call by their new director of football, which he is potentially amazing, but it also could come back to hurt them because he had one successful season in Portugal. It doesn't make it's definitely going to happen. And then I think if United have made that signing, there'd be so many more questions about, is this guy actually going to make it or is it going to be another flop? But because it's Liverpool and they have unfortunately got basically every transfer right for so long, or the majority at least, it's kind of written as red that it's going to work out for them, which I don't know if it particularly will, but hopefully not.
They've got most of them right, but this is a different scale, isn't it, for sure, on Núñez, and they went early with it. Clearly there was some competition. So they've had to pay a big fee, which they don't normally do. They've got some of that back by selling Sadio Mane, but Mane has been such a consistent performer for them. And Núñez is going to play through the middle by the looks of it, and he actually played sort of off the left of a sort of inside forward a lot in Portugal. So yeah, we'll see. Big gamble by them. But anyway, to the question, I think United will be completely comfortable taking their time on these things and won't be swayed by social media. anymore. I don't think so anyway. Again, could be proven wrong on that one, but you got the sense that Ed Woodward was lurking, and when the sentiment got a bit negative, he threw some cash at some aging player that was going to be injured for most of the time.
Yeah, if we revisit that question in 2 months and we've still not signed anyone, then I think the answer might be a little bit different. But I guess it's not July yet, so don't want to panic too early. Roger Williams asks, the 4 perfect realistic signings.
Everyone loves to add that word realistic. A right back, a defensive midfielder, a controlling midfielder, and a forward, and it could be a centre forward or a kind of more flexible one. So I guess they want to name names, right? I don't know who the right back should be. I don't know. I normally have a name at the top of my mind. I think Frenkie de Jong would be an excellent signing.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think most of De Jong's problems with Barcelona is they were using him in the wrong position. So we'll see. Could be wrong on that one. Defensive midfielder, don't know. I'm surprised they didn't explore a Basuma transfer. He might not be great on the ball, but man, the guy loves a tackle. His defensive numbers are really good. So, and forwards, I don't know. What do you think of Anthony? Have you seen much of him? I mean, he looks good on YouTube.
I feel like he's a better version of Ziyech, or similar to Ziyech.
Well, you kind of replaced him, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like obviously that guy on the right who cuts in with his lovely left foot. It's just so hard to know for sure with those players in Holland, because they're playing against such slow defenders. I think he is really, really good. I'd be very, very excited if United did sign him. My only fear is a little bit when we just keep getting linked to Ajax players over and over again. Like, is that the extent of the scouting system? But I think he would be awesome. I think
Yeah.
I think Frenkie de Jong would also be awesome as well. Like Tchouaméni would have been an awesome signing if he had not gone to Real Madrid.
Yeah, for sure.
I think yeah, what you say is right with all those. I think maybe a centre back as well.
Tchouaméni's great defensively and he's great on the ball as well. So
I think a centre back as well, maybe ahead of. Well, I mean, I think we do need a right back, but I guess it also depends on if Ten Hag wants to play maybe a little bit further up the pitch. But I can remember when we tried to do that before, it exposed David De Gea. And it exposes David De Gea when he plays for Spain.
The two of them.
Yeah, so we need a kind of...
So we're turning the 4 realistic signings into 6.
7 or 8.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because in Ten Hag's system, for me, I look at that and go, Maguire's a problem, De Gea's a problem, and Ronaldo's a problem. So with the pressing trigger and Ronaldo just won't do it. Maguire playing up the pitch, he's not comfortable. You could say he'd be more comfortable if Varane was fit more often, but that hasn't proven to be true. And De Gea, the amount of... I saw, I think it was The Athletic, put together a chart on this one. He is in the bottom left quadrant for sweeper-keeper type actions. So, yeah, he just does not do it. Collecting high aerial balls and I can't remember how they put it, but yeah, coming off his line to make other defensive actions.
It's not even surprising, is it?
He's a real problem.
Like, imagine if he'd have been asked the question, you would have probably put him bottom, I'm sure. Andy McCoy says, where is written that we must never sign a defensive midfielder?
Yeah. In the stars, mate. That's the only answer. Moses came down from the mountain, and the 11th commandment was, thou shalt not sign a defensive midfielder.
It's just like an incessant conversation over and over again.
I know.
It is just like Russian doll. They've brought out a second season of that. I don't know why. J.O. Joguntona. How important...
Yeah. I'm glad we both butchered that name.
Yeah, perfect. How important to have a biggish squad for the upcoming season? Another chance for Bay to prove his worth. Should United be looking at players in Scotland and the Championship more closely?
Nope. No.
Who?
I mean, the Scottish. If you look at the ELO ratings, the Scottish Scottish Premier League is about the standard of the Championship. I know Rangers did well in the Europa League this season, but there's Celtic and Rangers, and then the budget for everyone else is like sub 10 million. So they are Championship.
I would say worse than the Championship as well. When you watch it, I mean, even someone like Rangers, it'd be interesting to see if they actually won the Championship, because they've got players like Lundstrom who are excellent for them, and and I know like Ramsey didn't really get in the squad towards the end, but like, and then you see someone like Tavernier, who's actually been amazing for them, but like he couldn't really do it in a decent team in England. Yeah, I think if we start looking for players in Scotland, that would be a real bad sign. And like even like someone like Garner, who was, I think, did he make it into the Championship player of the Championship team of the season? And there was a couple of Forest players that did.
Yeah,
Jed Spence was one of them. I think Bernard Johnson as well.
Yep.
But like, I mean, them players, for example, or someone like Mitrovic or whatever, like Mitrovic comes to the Premier League. I know it's a little bit different as well because like Mitrovic is probably a player who would actually, in a good team in the Premier League, score a lot of goals. And when he goes to Fulham and he's playing in a team which defends or doesn't have much of the ball, then it's different. But he's not the same player. And I think there's such a huge gap between the Championship and the Premier League these days.
I mean, clearly, it comes back to that discussion around big squads as well, for sure, and the disparity in finances. That may change with the new regulator coming in. We'll see about that one. I mean, I think there's some time to go before we get that. So, yeah, I think if you look, how many big successes have there been coming out of the Championship into the Premier League? Right, not too many. Benrahma has kind of failed at West Ham.
Yeah, Buendia
came from Brentford.
Buendia did all right.
Buendia, yeah, he did all right at Villa. Matty Cash did very well at Villa.
Yeah.
From Forest. So it's not many. And I mean, there's a question like how many Championship sides have a elite tier 1 player performance development academy, right? It's not all of them, so it's not the farm for talent that it might have been 30 years ago, and a lot of that's to do with cash and the cost that it takes to run one of those academies to that standard as well, and just the bigger squads in the Premier League. So yeah, anyway, that's why you don't see too many. I'd be surprised if United moved for a Championship or Scotland player this summer. But
we are linked to that derby, lad, aren't
youngsters. Yes, although I wonder whether that's agents talking, because it looks like he's going to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Malcolm, I've forgotten his second name.
Yeah, Haynes. There wasn't much difficulty spending top dollar for Pogba, Lukaku and Maguire. Why are we beating around the bush paying top dollar for... Why aren't we, paying top dollar for the number one target our new manager wants? Yeah,
I think because United are taking a different approach, and if they reduce the fee they pay for Frenkie de Jong by 15 or 20 million euros, that's 15 or 20 million euros that will go on another player. Mm-hmm. So... I sound like I'm giving the corporate line here, don't I? But I think this is actually good. I think this is actually good that they're trying to look. If the deal collapses and United panic and go spunk 80 million on some crappy midfielder who was a big name once upon a time, then that'll have been completely wrong, and my analysis of the situation will be totally wrong, and it won't have been the first time that I've spatted a lot of crap on this. But I think United are trying to take a more sensible approach to the transfer market, and they will do the deals but at a price they think is right. And honestly, why should Barcelona make a profit on Frenkie de Jong? It's not like they got him on the cheap to start with. Yeah, why? And he's a player they want to get rid of, and they need the money. And it looks like there's a market of one for him at 75 million euros ish. So, hey, why shouldn't United squeeze a bit out of this?
So, how many weeks till we sign Lewandowski?
Yeah, well, honestly, he'd score a bucket load of goals. I mean, it might only be 2 years worth of bucket load of goals, but
yeah, we signed a player to score a bucket load of goals.
Yeah, we did, but he's more dynamic than Ronaldo.
Yeah,
he
is. Yeah.
And I would argue a better finisher as well,
and a better link player, and
younger,
more tactically disciplined. He would be an upgrade, but I can just imagine them two wanting to play in the top two together, which would be lovely.
All right, should we move on from transfers?
Yes.
Or is there anything? Yeah. Well, it's sort of the similar. Mark Gallagher at Galto on Twitter says, best signings post-Fergie, worst sales. Give us top three of each. My God, there aren't many.
I think Zlatan's got a bit there, hasn't he?
I mean, probably. For a year, he was great. Second year was an injury problem. Bruno.
Yeah, for sure.
I know last year wasn't as good as his first year and a half or so, but transformative.
Luke Shaw.
In terms of United's creative output. Luke Shaw, I mean, maybe, although you could argue he's only really had one really good season in 6 or 7 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I guess consistently, but I guess to me feels like someone we can thoroughly rely upon most of the time when he plays, which I mean is kind of better than most.
yeah, Herrera was good, but of course, obviously not always in the team. So he was good at a different level. We missed him when he went. There are not many best. Worst sales. I mean, like, what sales?
Yeah. I
mean, best sales. So, best and worst sales. Best signings and worst sales. I mean, loads. Darmian, we sat on for an extra 2 years, paying him, and then sold him for 2 million. Absolutely abysmal piece of business. Just terrible. Herrera, we let go. Like when we were handing out contracts like they were sweets in the playground to anybody, just because we wanted again, back to my conversation with Andy Green, like a fat squad with high asset values. And it turned out like they didn't have high asset values because they're not high in asset value if you pay them loads because no one wants them.
Henderson on 100 grand.
All of that. And we won't be able to, we'll probably have to subsidise his loan, by the way, to Forest.
I can't imagine Forest having the wage budget to...
They won't. So we'll have to subsidise a loan. There'll be a small loan fee and we'll subsidise his wages in the hope that he does well this year and we can get a sale next summer. I thought he was supposed to be one of the ones we could sell. Anyway, it's been terrible. If you look at the amount of money United have made out of sales the last 10 years versus City, Liverpool and especially Chelsea, that's a fourth revenue stream that United have just been terrible at. Just
I mean, the best ones just look...
we'll see what oh, my God. So he's gone on a free twice and we spent 100 million on him.
That is literally... That laugh is... I can just imagine just reverberating through the corridors of the Juventus Stadium.
I know.
Grim.
I mean, he maybe have been, quote unquote, but we spent a hell of a lot of money on that twat.
Yeah, we've indulged that twat a lot.
Anyway.
I don't think it's a twat, but...
So, yeah, not many best signings last 10 years and just so many worst sales. I mean, just look at this summer. 6 players leaving on a free. I mean, you can argue with any of them, really, but there's no value that United have got out of any of those players. 40-odd million on Nemanja Matic. When I said he looked expensive... You can go back and find that tweet. I had a bunch of people pushing back on me. I was just like, I don't see how we're going to get much out of this player. And there's no resale value. So spending a lot of money on old players, unless they're completely transformative, like Robin Van Persie, who we got a brilliant year out of, an end of a retirement present for Alex Ferguson, that was. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't work. World Cup, the... Neighbourlism on Twitter says, what's the best way to watch the 2022 World Cup while also not being at all happy about the circumstances around all of its existence? I'm hoping to have a conversation with someone at Human Rights Watch. I reached out to just talk about that this summer in some of these left field conversations I've been doing, but I think it's okay to watch the World Cup because it's already done and dusted. But you've got a platform on Twitter. I don't know how big it is, Andy. We have a platform here. Fairly big, and I think there's some prominent media outlets even bigger who are prepared to tackle some of the things, some of the issues around workers' rights, not just World Cup stadium building workers' rights, all workers' rights, not the PR version that the Qatari authorities show, which is, hey, look at the lovely conditions these World Cup workers have now, but didn't have the last 12 years, and the general migrant population doesn't have. So I think calling out all of that stuff while enjoying the football is perfectly fine. In fact, the louder the voices talking about it, and this is what Human Rights Watch and Amnesty say, the louder the voices talking about it, the better, because their attempt at sport washing their regime won't work if we don't just focus on the football.
I completely agree. I think if you look at like Saudi Arabia attempted sports washing in like golf, football, even the F1 that they had there recently, every attempt that they've had has been met with vociferous opposition by the media, and the media have done a really, really good job at that. It's almost, I can imagine to a lot of people, they were unaware of Saudi's horrendous human rights abuses and the war in Yemen. And it's actually especially the Live Golf thing, which is kicked off enormously. And it's brought so much attention to their horrendous regime. And I know it's like 100 that they're kind of talking about this strategy and like 100-year strategy, and they're hoping that it's just going to die down and they're going to be able to. And I think it will, unfortunately. But like the only thing that we can do as little men and women is basically shout about it as much as we can and keep bringing attention to it, because that's all we can do. Like we don't have that much power, but we do have a voice, and we should continue using it as much as we can.
I'm kind of aware that we shouldn't other as well, because I live in a country now which I think you could say has a horrendous human rights record around overseas wars, healthcare,
abortion as well.
We've just seen a decision. Exactly. We've seen a couple of decisions come down from the Supreme Court in the past week around the right to carry guns, which will undoubtedly lead to more deaths. I'm sorry for people who don't like me being political, but undoubtedly will. 45,000 people died at their own hand or others through firearms in this country last year. 45,000 people, and women's right to their autonomy around their body and their reproductive rights has been ended in many states now. So sanctity of life is important until you're born, and then you don't get healthcare and you might get shot in the school. So that's sorry to be glib, but I'm just to say I'm aware the UK is trying to deport refugees to a third-party country with a very poor human rights record as well. So don't want to other here, but the UK and the US governments and others don't quite act in this way, trying to buy overseas sports clubs and or tournaments in order to wash their reputation, which is what has happened with Qatar and the Saudis and Russia in 2018. And we know the impact and the power it's had. So, anyway, long answer to this question, but I think watch it, enjoy the football, call out the problems. We see even this week the Qatari minister saying Gareth Southgate is not credible. No, well, good for Gareth Southgate to, for getting on and keeping talking about it. We'll see what the England players do around, say, compensating workers who've been injured, or the families of workers who've died, or workers who've had poor conditions, or wages have been withheld and stuff like that. There should be pressure to do that.
Sam Sandyford said, this is talking about next season now, what would represent success? And also top 3 crisps.
Yeah, I'm glad. Don't eat a lot of crisps, honestly. But next is top 4. Top 4 and a decent run in the Europa League and one of the cups. It'd be nice to win something, wouldn't it, after 5 years? So winning one of the domestic cups. Europa League's perfectly possible. It's a tough competition, but perfectly possible. Get through the group stages, and then United will be as good as anyone, I imagine. But it's got to be back into the Champions League. That's got to be that's the cake, and the cherry on top of it is a cup victory somewhere.
Yeah, so I like the chicken wings Max Walker's Sensations,
nice.
Also fantastic. And I think to also go for a classic choice, pickled onion Monster Munch. So they are good. Really, really good. Yeah. I don't want to have them too often. It's
Now you're saying that, I know I can't get them here.
Yeah, because the question does ask specifically US ones now. Ed is there.
Yeah. Thing is, what I really like, which is hard to get in the UK, are like tortilla chips. And you can get you can't get the same quality in the UK. It's really hard to get them. But here there are like 15 different varieties of really good ones. And they always have like big pots of fresh salsa. I know this is not really a crisp. I know I'm bending the definition here, but I really like them.
Also, Flaming Hot Cheetos in America are unbelievable.
They are. I don't know what's in them, the dye, but when the kids have them, they go orange. And I know everyone called Trump Cheeto. Their hands are dyed, their faces are dyed. There's something about kids, and anyone who's listening who's got kids, you'll know, they cannot get it into their face hole. It just goes all over their face. And it dyes deeply.
Yeah.
They
are so good. Yeah. And you, when you're talking about your kids, they basically kind of talking about me, because I'm exactly the same. I'm just such an absolute mess staring at
I mean, honestly, I might have a job and responsibility for paying bills and stuff like that, but I like kids' TV. I like Haribo's.
Yeah, on the what represents success, I completely agree as well. The top four, like it's going to be tough as well. Like City and Liverpool have made 2 massive signings. Tottenham, you imagine they're going to get loads better under Conte. Chelsea, you don't know. I think they might be a little bit dodgy. So it would.
The new owner now acting as director of football. That's a red flag. So hopefully they screw that up.
It would be. I think it'll be a very, very good success to finish top 4, and it's actually going to be pretty tough as well.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll try and make predictions in our annual preview show somewhere towards the end of the summer. We'll see where we get to on that one. Rot Guy says, most overrated and underrated players of the Fergie era. Over and underrated. Are any of them overrated? I mean, it depends who you mean's doing the overrating, because I know you see this on Twitter a lot, don't you? Like revisionism around the class of 92. They're all great players who you'd all really... I noticed Wayne Barton was arguing with people about Keane versus Vieira on Twitter. Great thread, very enjoyable, Wayne. But Keane was miles better than him, miles better, and like trying to revise that, or any of the class of '92, they were all great players. And so yeah, I'm not having that they were overrated.
It's right as well. Like it depends what circle you're in. Like when you talk about overrated, underrated, because some people like massively underrate someone like I don't know Cantona and Paul Scholes, like because like, especially Cantona, like the because they just look at his like goal scoring record, they're like, oh yeah, but it's not as good as what Shearer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like someone like, or you sometimes almost go a bit over the top, like some people with Scholes, because they just say like he's Zidane's best player, like favourite player, and Xavi's favourite player, and I think it does a lot depend on the circles that you speak in. Most underrated for me.
I'm not having anyone talk down Paul Scholes. He's the greatest ever.
Most are underrated for me. Jesper Lundqvist. What a man. At least I love that kid.
Yeah.
He just injured all the time.
It was a shame he got injured, which I think severely impacted. Well, it's two. Fergie had a kind of wide 4-4-2, and he was a left-footed player, and Giggs was in the team, and he got injured a lot. So I think Fergie had this view that he was going to move Giggs into a more central area.
Yeah, he tried that a lot that season as well.
And he tried it. Yeah, he tried it in midfield and up front. But yeah, when it came down to it, he was injured a lot. Nicky Butt, back to the class 92, underrated. I think he'd have got in any other team of that era, any other Premier League team, that is, for sure. Lee Sharp, early 90s. Again, affected by injury and, how do we put it?
I wonder about Hargreaves.
Again, he had one great season for us, didn't he?
Again, just hampered by injuries.
Yeah, and Bayern knew what they were selling, I'd say.
Yeah, and then became a traitorous human being by going to City. Though it didn't really work out, did it? Not exactly Tevez.
I was joking recently, like Marcelo retired from Real Madrid, and Toni Kroos said, I'm glad I played with the best left back of all time. I was like, no, you didn't play with Dennis Irwin. Again, underrated. What a player Dennis Irwin was.
Oh my God, I know. So. And also a left back taking penalties.
And free kicks. And playing on the wrong side as well. Cause
I know,
but totally comfortable.
Totally just worked. Amazing. And I just love as well when a player just gets on with their job like that. Just no fuss. Just doing it. Just doing everything really, really well. Have you been taking... Oh, this is for you, Ed. Have you been taking advantage of the wonderful plethora of Asian food options near you in Seattle? If so, what's...
Well, sort of. Asian food, he means Korean, Japanese, Chinese, I think, in this context. There's a what they call the international quarter here that has a really good range of shops and restaurants. We tried a few, not loads. I don't know if I could name my favourite, but yeah. Anyway, honestly, what we try most is the pub scene, the brewery scene, which is right around the corner from where I live in Seattle, which is awesome. There's like 25 breweries within walking distance. So yeah,
beautiful.
I know that wasn't the question, but I gave you a different answer anyway.
This one, TJ Christensen, top 3 transfer sagas that didn't happen?
Yeah. Wesley Sneijder.
Oh, okay.
I think
Ones that
he
didn't
means
work
the
out.
transfer
Yeah,
didn't happen.
Yeah, Schneider
Yeah.
was the one every single summer, wasn't it?
Every summer for what felt like a decade. Nicholas
Oh,
Gaitan,
God, yeah.
his agent, never happened.
How random was that?
It sounded like it was going to happen forever, didn't it? Ronaldo back to United, although, of course, it did happen. And then Gareth Bale to United, that was a constant
that
one.
was a constant.
Would you have him now? Play 20 games?
When I was talking about
something like
earlier,
that?
I
On
was
a
talking
freebie?
earlier about the guy you can just bring on for the last 15, 20 minutes. He'd be great for that.
I mean, if he took a reasonable wage, and he doesn't want more than that. He gets injured, his
And all
body's
he's doing is
delicate, although he does take a while to get up
saving
to
himself
speed.
in November, isn't he? So we just put him on a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Bring him on for 15, 20 minutes if you want to play on it. Actually, I'm kind of talking myself into this.
I mean, honestly, he wasn't that good at Spurs, so you don't know what you'd be getting. But as long as he was on like a pay-as-you-play deal or something like that, I don't think.
I mean, there was
that
massive
bad.
rumours that one, he was going to Cardiff, and then also he was going to go to Getafe. So surely he couldn't have been on much at either of those clubs. God, I can't believe I'm talking myself into Gareth Bale again. It's going to be another transfer. So, Jack, I love this question. What's the fucking point? What is the point? With like life? Is this just like a truly nihilist question? Because that is a good question.
I mean, Jack, if you need some help, reach out. We can get you some help. And but if it's about football, yeah, I mean, honestly, you could make a very deep bear case for United not getting the transfers done this summer, ruining Ten Hag's chances of building the squad, and Ten Hag getting fired before the season's out. So sure, yeah, if you want to be deeply pessimistic, there's a perfectly good scenario that you can
I do
build.
think about this question a lot, like after a loss, which say if it comes like last minute loss or whatever, and I've invested so much into it, I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why is my emotions and my feelings dictated by something I can not control in any way? And what is the point in football? It doesn't make any sense, but I'm still so emotionally invested. I don't understand life. It doesn't make any sense.
It's true. Are those rare moments of highs?
Yeah,
worth
exactly.
it?
Whereas a plant, if you were a plant all day, like you're living, you're having a lovely life, you don't have any highs and lows, you're just there, being. Is that a good thing to be?
Well, it's a deeply philosophical question.
This is what the question was about.
You think, therefore, you are.
Yeah.
No? Google recently got fired for saying that its AI system was sentient. So,
Yeah, it might not be around for much longer.
Skynet's coming, apparently. That's true.
Damn. Born and Red, last one. Despite being tall and powerful, having a fantastic passing range, vision, shoot from distance, good in the air, and the ability to dribble past men, why couldn't Tom... Oh, no, it's not about me. Pogba drive a poor team forward like Robson or a Gerrard? Gerrard, come on.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, damn it. Tom, yeah, why couldn't you drive this team forward? Pogba, I don't know. I mean, there's so much, like, he's gone. I guess we should have a last word on him now. It's time for Juve. I think it was something to do with his personality. He's actually not a driver and a leader on the pitch. He seems to be a leader in the dressing room, but it doesn't translate to the pitch. It's something to do with the fact that he was injured too often, and he found it very hard to create a rhythm in the team, and a lot to do with the inability of United to work out how to use him, and the reluctance of every single coach he played under to kind of build the structure around him, because for understandable reasons they didn't trust him.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder about his personality as well. Like, not to truly slate him, but so I don't know if you've seen the new HBO show about the Lakers. It got loads of flack for not being very true to the actual events that happened. But there was a moment in that which really made me think this guy's like Pogba. It's when Magic Johnson, I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was talking to him, and he's like, you love this too much. You love playing too much. You don't love winning. And I feel like that's kind of what Pogba is. Like, he just kind of just enjoys playing football, but he's not really that bothered about the actual winning. Like, maybe he's not bothered, but that's not the be all and end all for him. He obviously wins a lot, but like, he's not as ferociously invested in winning as someone like, even like a Gerrard or Like you think to United players like Roy Keane, you think to the class of '92, how set they were on winning. That I don't get that same impression from Pogba, which is completely fine. I'm saying, it's not a slight on his personality. Sometimes it's actually quite good not to be as invested in the end goal and the success like that. But in kind of football, it does kind of matter quite a bit.
I think it helps a lot. He was, again, not to defend him really, because I think it's a complex and nuanced discussion. But if he had more of that ilk of player around him, United could have carried him for the last 6 years. Just had the skill set without the need for him to be more than that. But he wasn't more than that. I don't think his personality lends to it, at least on the pitch. I don't really care about the off-field stuff, the haircuts and the dancing and the TikTok videos and whatever. I think that's just modern players, really. I don't even really care that much about his agent, who was, while he was alive, very mouthy. And that's just the way he does it with all his players. He creates markets, both for the wages and potential transfers. So it was a drama, but honestly, I don't think the club were that worried about it. The performances on the pitch are, I don't know, 65% Pogba's fault, 35% United's fault. I'm not sure what balance it was, but it's definitely blame on both sides there.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's a long mailbag. There probably were more, but I thought we had a lot of questions, so didn't get to all of them and didn't keep tweeting it out because we'd have had hundreds to run through. I think we covered a lot there.
And yeah, good questions on crisps, I thought, and Asian food.
Yeah.
And on nihilism.
I didn't answer that one very well. Maybe I should. Honestly, I when we eat out, we probably do tacos more. There's good Mexican food here as well, so which you can't get in the UK.
Yeah, you've shown yourself to be loving the Mexican food with the tortilla chips, and now this.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's going on the belly though.
Yeah, and that's what we don't have that much in the UK, like good Mexican places. Like, we have a lot of good places to eat, but Mexican places, yeah, not great.
Not so much.
Not yet. Anyway.
All right, Tom, great to speak to you.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, thank you. It's a lot funner when we don't actually have to talk about a loss.
An actual game, yeah. I mean, I think we've only got about 4 weeks until United start playing.
Fingers crossed we start winning again as well. Definitely.
I think our first pre-season game might be against Liverpool, so we'll see.
Something to look forward to.
Anyway, I'll be back next week. I'm doing some more interviews in the next few weeks before we start talking about actual football again. And yeah, great to talk to you, Tom. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you soon.